morning. Good morning and welcome to Railway Cottage Studio. This is Karen. It is a beautiful Friday. Is it Friday? Friday morning here in Bundy. And I am back down in my studio picking up where I left off on my little vintage rabbit stitches journal. I think when I left you yesterday I was starting to do my little rabbit here, deciding how I wanted him to look and attach. Let me just move you in a bit. So I started to do sort of overlocking stitches, whatever they're called, with my brown, with the brown cotton, this brown cotton, but it was too thin, it was too fine, it kept getting lost between the stitches. So I switched to some wool. So I've just done stitching all the way around using just some wool that I picked up at Vinnie's. Crewel wool. It came in just a box for, a couple of dollars. But when I've done that, it's too neat. So I'm going back in now with my brown and just adding some random kind of bigger stitches to make it look a little bit less tidy. So I literally have just, with this, I haven't stitched all the way through the fabric every time because it was pulling too much. So probably about every inch I've gone through the fabric, and then the others I've just done underneath. It was getting a bit puckered because this gingham actually isn't a very heavy weight, so I didn't plan that very well. So I'm just going to join you in here and keep working on this. But before I start that, we're going to do a bit of tea dyeing so I can let that dry. My iris has dried and I don't love it, unfortunately, but I'll show you how we ended up. It's actually come up quite dark. That's okay. I'm going to try and rescue it. I made a mistake where it had bled. I kind of went back in with a little brown pencil just to kind of make it look a bit more vintage, but it's just a little bit too dark. So I'm going to attempt to save that. That's one plan this morning. So I'm going to work on my rabbit, see if I can save my iris. But before I start that, I'm going to just grab some things out of here to tea dye so they can be doing that in the background. I'm going to tea dye this little bit of kilt / Robertson tartan, and the same with this bit, just because they're looking a bit new and clean. Actually, that's already done on, so I'm going to do that with a sponge. That will work. And this bit I can actually just disconnect and dip him in. You know what, I might see if I can sponge it rather than dip, because I don't want the whole thing necessarily really darkly tea dyed, but I want to bring it down from looking so new. So this is just a bit of fabric that I printed on my home computer. I followed a tutorial that I saw online on how do you use double-sided tape to do it. You basically just cover a piece of A4 white paper with double-sided tape, stick a piece of fabric on, I just used calico, and print as normal. So that came out okay. This is the Robertson tartan, and that's the sigil or the crest, whatever you call it. I've already stitched that on, but I'm going to work around it. So how about I put something a little bit waterproof under here, like this guy, and we'll see if we can do some sponging just to bring that down a bit. This is a bit of leather that I used some ink around the outside of. Let me just find something, a bit of rag to sponge with. I thought maybe I should use a sponge. So let me just cut a bit of rag. Just cutting up a bit of a hand towel in the background here. Alright, so I've just cut myself a little bit of hand towel. I'm going to try and sponge it without creating too much mess. So this is my tea dye that I made yesterday. It's just the cheapest tea bag you can get in some water. It's I probably made it a bit dark yesterday, so I have put a bit more water in that today. So let's just see, just soak some of that up if I can. Just bring this down a bit. Do you know what I did? I've just pulled some tea bags out of that. I'm just thinking I might just put a tea bag straight onto it. Stay there, I'm going to grab one. Sorry, just wandered off. So here's some tea bags. I literally just took them out a minute ago, so they're wet. I might just see, because I don't want it to be even. I might just see what I can do. So I'm just paying a bit of attention to the edges. Might just do a very light wash over that one and then leave it for a minute somewhere else. Okay, let's see if I just sit it there if it goes a bit darker. So this little book, I'm going to try some different things. Should have done this before I put it in, obviously. You know, that's not always how my brain works. So I'm just going to bring that bit down as well. I want that to just like leave a mark across his face. What do you think? It's going to work? All right, let's give it a blot. Let's blot that little sausage. And you know, try new things. It's just a bit of fabric. Well, I like that better, but it's very even. So how about now I grab a little bit of ink instead of... This isn't going to be washed. So this here I've used Stays On ink, which is this stuff that, you know, stays on actually. This isn't going to be washed, so I think I can just use a bit of normal ink for this. Let me just check the colour. Is that the one I want? So this one is at a stage where it doesn't have much ink left, so it's actually quite useful to use. That's what I want. Kind of just want to create some lines, like it's been folded. I might just fold him up and do a longer line, like that. Oh yeah, that looks good. And then do the same here. Again, much easier to do before you sew it in. Don't do what I do. I actually need to put something up under there. Look, how about if I use that? There we go. That just gives me something hard to press against. Get a bit more colour. Oh yeah, that's good. Let's go this way. I want it to look old. It's come out of a Scottish castle. Yeah, that looks much better, don't you think? So again, the edges are looking a bit new. Let's just do that. And I do have a darker brown there. I might just attack it with briefly. So again, you can make things look old. Now these aren't expensive tools. Tea bags. This is a cheap Versacolor. I think they're about $6 each at Spotlight. So I'm happy with that. I'm just going to use a little bit of the other colour, which is much darker, so I need to just be a little bit probably calmer with it. I might just try a little bit over here first. Yeah, that's good. Let's just crumple it and do that. All right. Oh, stop, Karen, before you get carried away. Stop it. Stop. Stop. Put the ink away. It's probably the thing I do. I just keep going when I need to stop. So that's good. That's actually not very wet. So I'm going to go and stick my iron face down on that. I haven't turned it on yet, but just turn my iron on. So that's warming up. So that looks much better. I'm much happy with that looking like it should be in my journal. I have kind of missed that corner a bit though, haven't I? Let's just do a bit more squeezy tea. Another blot. So, and I might actually, I wonder if it'll work when it's wet. I use sanding block quite a bit, but I find the sanding block works really well when you have an edge, again like that. So kind of just, I might have to wait till this is dry to be effective. Let's just see what that looks like. Oh yeah, that's all right. Let me just move my tea dye before I wear it. My blotter. I'm going to get something smaller than this big blue book, big blue map. I just have this little quilting block, and because it's got quite sharp edges, it's really good for using for sanding, because your sanding block or sandpaper loves a good edge to work on. So it makes it very easy. And again, should have done this before The good thing about doing this when it's wet too is you can tear holes if that's what you're aiming for. See, look how old that's looking. That's great. I'm much happier. I'm hoping I can rescue my iris in the same way. And some parts are always more worn than others. I kind of just need one over here. There's a point there. I like that. Alrighty. I'm going to give it a shake off. I've got a bit of sandpaper. I like how that's come out, that one. So I'm going to just do another one of those here. Okay, that looks much better. I'm much happier with that. So that looks like an old sigil that's been rescued from somewhere. And I've had a bit of bleeding in the blue, but that's all right. I'm quite happy with that as well. I'm going to do the same with my Robertson. Oh, I seem to have caught myself. What's happened? Oh, just froze for a minute there on my camera. I just moved myself over. So this is what I'm using to represent a kilt, because obviously the Highland stone, everything's very Scottish. I might just dip it quickly, not leave it. I left this probably about 2 hours and the tea was a bit strong, so it's a bit darker than I wanted. So I might just dip it. Dip it, squeeze it, and work on it straight away while it's wet. Let's have a look. That's awesome. So I'm going to fold it back into my kilts, my kilt shape. Again, these are just all impressions of our trip. So the blue's running a bit in this. This is just normal inkjet printer ink. So clearly it will behave differently depending on what printer you have, or what, you know, because everyone's is different. Just going to make that straight because that's how a kilt is. Like that. All right, I'm going to blot to get rid of excess. Sorry if I'm making the camera move. I'm going to blot underneath. See, it's not actually very wet, which is good. You can use, I know you can get little heat, you know, dryers, but it's honestly, things dry so quickly up here. I don't have one of those. Just wait a minute, Bundy, and it will dry. Okay, so there is my kilt. So it goes that way. So it's already much better. I'm going to just grab the ink out again, and I'm just going to work with the folds that are there. So again, just adding a bit of dirt. It's not very obvious, but it is if you're looking for it. So this is, again, is the dark one. This is called pine cone. This one is bark. So just being a little bit careful with this because it does. So I'm going on the folds, you know, where it would age, had it been a kilt hanging in the cupboard of a Scottish castle, waiting for the guy from Outlander to arrive. Excellent. Okay, that's 2 parts done. Let's give it a little sand and then I'll put it aside to dry while we work back in my book. Just thinking what I want to do. So because I already have these folds here, I'm just going to slip I'm going to go for where the darkest sort of colour is here, because that will probably have the most effect, I think. That is there, is that it? That's that one, just there. Just there, yes. And again, it's wet, so it will have a different effect if it's dry. So it's kind of where I did just put the paint. Just put him back like that. That's it. So I just want a little bit of wear to look like my lovely kilt has. I kind of want a hole here. You know, like the moths have eaten it in the cupboard. Might have to use the corner. And give it a little bit of that. That's it. go in there. Again, let's find a corner. Yeah, that's good actually. I need to do a bit more work down here. Hang on. Just try not to unfold it too much. It took me ages to get it folded how I want it. All right, and again, that's probably all I'm going to do for that. I'm going to pop that over on my ironing board to dry. He can dry at his own pace. Just refolding, getting rid of all the bits of sandpaper that have come off, sanding block. I want to fold him back along that line, that's it. Back along that line. This guy needs to go back a little bit now, because I kind of want it in a perfect. So I'm just going to duck over, and that is very, very nearly dry. I seem to be lagging on my camera, maybe it's my phone. That is very nearly dry, but I'm just going to put my line up for 2 seconds to set all of that, and I'm going to pop this guy off on his own so he can just dry on his own. I can never pick these boards up. So I'll be 2 seconds. Again, I always think of Mum when I do this because she thinks it's hilarious. I wander off. So I'm just ironing this in the book. Oh, it looks awesome. I'll show you. Look how good that turned out. That is so much better. It just looks like, you know, it's nice and dry, like literally dried in that time. So let's, while that's drying, let's go back to my poor little Iris. What's going on, buddy? I got a bit carried away with the pens, and you know, I guess that's the whole point of this book, to learn things. And it's the first time I've used these pencils. So again, learning things. I'm going to get my blue back so I can get under here and work. So I'm going to try sanding and just see if I can get rid of some of this deep stuff that I don't like. I'm not really going in with a plan. I'm just going to try. Oh yeah, it's going to sand well. So, you know, if you imagine that it was folded up in a drawer, and you know, they're the edges that you kind of want to sand. And you can see how different it is sanding it kind of just against itself, where you get that kind of broad as opposed to a line. And you know, when you've had things folded up for a long time, this is where they show, you know, the marks. So I'm going to do a combination of both, like normal sort of fading, which I'm actually just going to try and take some of the colour off. It may or may not work. And this is all, yeah, actually that's coming down, isn't it? Trial and error. And I think it's the leaves. The leaves just, the green came out really green. That sounds silly, but if I can just bring that down a bit. So I don't know that that's having any effect at all. So let's create some lines and take it out that way. So if you fold and then just work, you'll get a bigger area. Hope you don't sand your fingers too much. You see, so that's kind of not a lot there. Let's try it again. Gone to the coarser side of my block. I'm quite happy to make a little hole. I want it to look old. Yeah, that's actually heaps better. Much better. Let's go up here. So the sides of this are a bit coarser than the top. This is just from Bunnings. I just steal them from my husband's shed when he's not looking. I'm just going to go in hard here because I've got nothing to lose at the moment. You can see how much more effective that is straight away. Another really good technique to age, and I'll do it on this because we're trying everything on this, is if you just scrumple it like that. I'm going to not do right in the middle, kind of to one side. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to go and rub it on the concrete at my door, and I'll show you what it does. So I literally took that and just did that on a rough bit of concrete, and you can see that just wears it away. Okay, so I'm happy with that now. Still not loving it. I'm wondering if adding any water here will help blend this out. I don't think so. I think it's set. Just see if I can bring some of that down. So if you are using these pens, word to the wise, leave a bit more of a gap between layers, because it seems to be a bit like it's dried darker. So by going in before it had dried to add more colour, I've probably made it too dark. So again, live and learn. Let's see. So now I'm just blending it or making it all a bit more watercolour-y. That's working. Again, trial and error. Okay, I think I can live with that now, except for this bit. Not liking you up here. And that pointy bit there. Okay, let's have a look. Right, I'm going to get a little bit of water and just see if adding water to this at all, I can blend it out a bit, but I don't think so. I think once it's set, it's set. So somebody suggested the water brushes yesterday. I actually have some, but I can't get the lids off. I'll show you. I got these, but they're just from Kmart. They're a couple of bucks because I'm not an artist. I don't need expensive things. So there's a set of 6. I cannot get the top off. Like literally just will not. I've tried all of them. Tried both ways. So anyway, if you're buying these from Kmart, try and open them in the store first. You might have more luck than me. See, I don't think that's doing anything. I'll just work on that one spot. No, it's set, which is, you know, part of the point of these pens in the first place. So I'm tempted to, again, do too much. I'm tempted to just kind of go right around the edge with a little white pen, just to give it a little bit more definition, and then leave it alone. So that's my last job on this, and I'm just going to suck it up wherever it ends up. So I'm going to get my white pencil out of here. It's a little bit blunt. This is these Derwent ink tints. I'm going to just quickly sharpen it. A little bit. I'm just going to, this could be a mistake, just going to go with the hard pencil just to give it a little bit more definition without any more darkness. I'm going to wait for that bit to dry. I may have learned my lesson there. And then I don't think I'll blend this, I'll just leave it alone. Leave it alone, Karen. Stand down. So if you have managed to get a set of these and you have any tips or tricks, please let me know, because this is a learning project. All right, that's working a little bit better for me, I think. Does that look a little bit better? It's very dark here, you can't really see, but I think that's making it more bearable. Look, I'm going to wait for it to dry. So I'm going to put that away to dry. I've got my quilt drying. Let's move all this out of the way and get back into the middle of the book. So these sanding blocks are only a couple of dollars, they're not expensive at all. So I've actually got my camera far out, so hold on, I'm just going to bring you in a bit so I'm not leaning forward. There we go. So Robertson is done, he looks so much better. We're going to go back and finish my rabbit. So I've created this little pocket, little rabbit pocket. This is just a bit of needlepoint that I had, that I've saved from something or other. I'm going to when I want to move from one spot to the other, I'm just going in through the needle point like this, so you can't see it at the back, and then just popping up somewhere else. See, you can see that bit, but pop back. Only because this little bit of rabbit's sticky outy. You can kind of go through the top of the stitches or the bottom, just because I want to add more. I'm just going to tie that bit off there because I run out, and get some more. So I originally started going around the rabbit in this brown wool, cotton, I guess it is, but it was just too fine, and it just disappeared between the in between the lines of stitching, and just separated them rather than covering up the end. That's better. I do tie a knot in everything, and because I have a knot on here, I'm just going to start somewhere else so I can lose my knot. So you can see where I've done up to in here, so I'm going to pop inside my little pocket. I can probably take those pins out, hey? Inside my little pocket, and come up down here somewhere. So this stitching is purely decorative. It's not holding anything in place. It's just to make it look a bit messier. It looked a bit neat, a bit deliberately overlocked. So they're crooked, they're different lengths, and it's just a bit of whimsy. I've gone all the way around there, haven't I? Should go down and straight up. So here I don't need to go through this fabric here. I'll do it occasionally, but I don't want to make the fabric puckered either. Let me just go that way. So different size stitches. I quite like to just pick up a bit of thread and work until I have no more thread left. Challenge yourself to go, well, where else can I put stitches? And then when you go to get your next colour, just grab what's next. Very freeing, kind of stop overthinking what colour and what should I choose. Just get a whole heap of threads ready, and just whatever you put your hand on next, that's what you use. Because that creates really interesting things and really has to spark your creativity, because otherwise we tend to do the same sorts of things. So again, no real plan here, just stitching. Trying to make them look a little bit less contrived. So I'm going to bring this one right back. Whoa, go through that one. My thumb's getting a good workout. And I'm going to go in here but come up over there now, because I don't want them all together. I want a bit of a gap. That's good. I quite like that. That's wonky. So I've been watching Rachel's videos. Thank you so much, Rachel. Rachel at Roxy Creations is an incredible artist. She's huge in the industry. She's probably the stage setter for so much of slow stitching as we know it now. She's had her channel going forever, and she has been doing a version of this journal on her page. I'll put a link in the playlist, but I'll put a link below, and I'm sure that, you know, if you've come to me, then you already know Rachel. She's one of the beautiful Roxy girls, and all their creativity. So thank you, Rach. Thanks so much for doing one of my projects, and for, you know, including me and talking about me in your videos. I really appreciate it. And so if you've come here from Rachel, thank you. Thanks for coming over. I hope you found something to inspire you, and I hope you hang around. Through there. As I'm sitting here looking up, there's literally there's 2 quilts that I'm working on are cut up in front of me. a new piece of quilted, 2 placemats that I've stopped using upstairs are sitting there waiting and telling me that they need to be made into books. I'm just like, oh my god, I need more time. So again, I'm going to just jump down a little bit here, just so it's not so boring and predictable. His ears have gone a bit curly. Could put a button on them to stop that. And I find sometimes just fixing errors or fixing things that happen create really good opportunities to change your practice and try something different, and have to be imaginative in your solutions. Okay, I'm nearly all the way around, I think. So I'm back up to his ear. Might just do a random stitch there. I'm at the back, aren't I? It seems like every time I do a video there's a train. There's really not that many trains. I think we have 4 a day. But it's because I'm usually videoing at the same time, I think, of day. In the morning or in the afternoon. There you go. I'm actually going to go up into his ear. Look at that. That works really well. I'm going to come back down next to that as well, like it's kind of his shading for his ear, if you know what I mean. The other thing is when you do these, when you use these needle points, you can stitch underneath these little stitches on the front to choose an element to highlight or to change colour, or, you know, lots and lots of things you can do with them. I'm just going to turn him around so that I am seeing what it's going to look like. I'm going to go this way through this one, and that might be my final. Through him again. So this big storm last night, we got just the very, very edges of it, but places just south of us at Woodgate and Childers got hammered with hail. We all laugh up here, and we have what we call the Bundy Dome, which means there's an imaginary dome over Bundaberg, and the storms just all seem to divert around it. I'm literally just going to tie this off here. This thread is not moving. Let me tell you, it is so stitched in. So I'm literally just going to cut that off here, like that. So thinking about whether I want to do a couple of little crosses for his arm, and think about that. I'm not going to rush into that. Let's see where we're up to over here. Leaving that for now. Now this is my souvenir page, and then I have, is it tucked in here? The map, the roll out. Where did I put it? Where did I put it? It's not in here. I was inspired by Madame Dubocage. Oh, here it is. And I've put a link in one of my other videos. I'll add it on here as well. She does some fabulous journals and artworks using textiles and mixed media. And in one of her books, she's got one of these maps just made on a long piece. And on one side, she's got this sort of town map very naively embroidered. And on the other side, she's got all these houses. So I was really inspired by that. It seemed like it would be the perfect thing to put on here. So this is just a very loosey-goosey, in no way even representative of where these places are in the world of our map. So this is us flying into Sydney. There's Bowral with the tulip, Mittagong, Moss Vale, Robertson with the green door. So I'm going to do a really simple stitch around this. I'm going to do the stitching first and then tea dye it so that the stitching is also tea dyed. And then I'm going to think about what I'm going to put on the other side. I may do like a fabric collage on this side. Just think about how to make that work the best so that it's only one piece of fabric, obviously. So it might be that I do the fabric collage first and then the stitching. So that's a problem for me to solve. I do have this beautiful little bit of conversation print here with the thread and needle, because that's obviously where we were in Robertson doing some stitching at the green door. So until then, we're going to work on my little rabbit's happy. Look how gorgeous he is. So I'm just going to leave that page for a minute, let it sit and let me think about it. We're going to stitch on this souvenir, this word souvenir. Again, just on a bit of old doily, very basically hand embroidered by me. So I think I'm going to stitch that just in a cream. This is an old doily, didn't need to tea dye it, it's already old. This one's quite, I don't think I want, maybe that one. Or do I want red? I have, sorry, excuse me reaching. Do I want red? Kind of think like, you know, those things, that word. So I'm just thinking about whether my red stitching would enhance that or draw from it. Let's just do it. Let's not overthinking. But immediately again, I'm reaching for brown. Sorry, excuse me. Reaching for brown. Do I want brown? The same as the stitching. I think I want brown. Surprise, surprise. Let's go and get the needle. I think Rachel was mentioning about needles that I use. These are milliner's needles, so my fingers are tea-dyed, from Spotlight. They're not expensive. They're quite long, but they're very pointy. I use a mixture of them and, is this the finer one? Basting needles. You can see the difference. No, they're exactly the same. And all that one, where's a basting needle? Which are also from Spotlight. And they're kind of the same length, but they're finer. Just trying to find one for you. Yeah, here. They're finer, can you see? And they have a smaller eye. So, depending on what thread I'm using, they're both good. They're both long. I like long needles. I can't use short needles. Both long, and I use both. And sometimes it's just purely determined by what my thread will fit, because it's never very planned. It's just what I happen to pick up. And I might pick up a needle and go, oh, that's not going to let my thread go through. But I do try to make it so that the thread catches, do you know what I mean? So that it's not falling out all the time. So I could have probably used the other needle for this. See how loose it is? Because then it falls out all the time. But given that I'm not doing a great deal of stitching on this, I'll just keep using this one. Both of these needles are very sharp as well, which is good. Obviously that other one is great if you are going through really finely, if you're going close to the edge and you kind of don't want to separate any more threads than you have to, because it will cause too much decay at the edge, too much more, what's what I'm looking at, fraying than you need. So I'm just going to start here. So I'm going to cut, I have cut my knot really close to the end, so I should be able to just hide him there. Okay. I'm just going to stitch this all the way along, going through both sides. Just deciding what I want to do. I want to put 2 stitches before the S, start of the S. I'm just going to do teeny tiny ones. So it's not going to be a straight line, it is going to be a line of stitching like that. There we go. And these are very sharp when they stick you. I do have one of those little strawberries as well to keep them sharp. They're slippery. Okay, here we go. I do have a couple little rubber finger things, but I can't find them. You know, the ones that just help you grip your needle when you're pulling it through, so you don't slip off the edge and stab yourself. The thing about the milliner's needles in particular, sorry, the basting needles in particular, is that you definitely need a thimble, because the end that you thread your thread through is so fine, it just pierces your skin, even with the slightest push, and it becomes very painful very quickly if you're doing lots of sewing. A little bit of an uneven stitch there. Oops. There's my eye. I might have to do another dot for eye. I've just sewn over that one. It's too high anyway, I think. So I'm just going to finish underneath. And just think about, do I need to stitch down here? You know, like the edge of the kind of bowie thing, do you think I do? I'll just do that. Starters, so it's a little bit wider. I'm not going to, and then I'll have a look at it, if that makes sense. Let's go here. So I'm going to stitch right to the edge of the ribbon. In fact, what I might do here is stop stitching through. I don't know what. I was thinking I might just stitch through this, but that's not going to work. I will do it on the end here, like this now. I'm going to come up here and go out to the end. Because I've had too much coffee today, got the shakes. So I kind of need something there. I'm going to stitch all the way around and then we'll come back and make a plan about that. And I'm going to bring up some photos on my iPad just to see if there's a line there. Normally, kind of think of like a love tattoo through a heart, the little thing that goes through the middle. A banner-y thing. So again, very, very simple stitching, straight stitches, as big or as small as you want them. And this is just going to be going through both sides, it's fine. I'm not sure what I'm doing on the other side, but I'll just start with whatever I have. Once this is done. Can you hear that bird? That is an Australasian fig bird. Now he's really excited because my mulberry tree is covered in mulberries, and he's really excited about 4 o'clock in the morning. So he's not very popular at the moment. He's more than welcome to my mulberries because I do like to share with the birds, but I would prefer he was just a little less excited about it, as would my sons who live at home. See, when I was doing this, I did a bit of a wonky bit there, but I just left it because I just think, you know what, it's part of the charm. This isn't about fine needlework or, you know, I just think it looks like, you know, if it looks like a 10-year-old girl did it 200 years ago, that's perfect. Mind you, if you look at some of those samplers, they are exquisite, aren't they? The skills that children had. Through, there he is, calling all of his friends. There's mulberries. When you hear that at 4 o'clock in the morning, you actually, for a minute, you have that split second before you wake up where you think it's an alarm, you know, a phone alarm, because it's repetitive. I was thinking, whose alarm is that? Oh, it's Nigel. So we only see Nigel when my mulberries are in fruit. So I'm not sure where he goes the rest of the time. Probably out to the big fig farm just out of town, I would think. Although I don't think they share their figs with the birds. I think they have netting. So we're very lucky here in Bundy. We have so many beautiful fruits and vegetables that just grow all year round, including figs. There is a fig farm on the way into town. You can stop there all year and get a tray of figs for maybe, you might get 6 figs for $2 or $3, and they are absolutely stunning. So we are very lucky. Avocados grow here all year round. We have a fabulous strawberry farm here at Tinnerberries. If you're ever up this way, it is a must-do for your family. It's open. It's a family visit farm where they do their own fruit ice cream from their strawberry farm, and at this time of year they have pick your own strawberries, and that's a most beautiful place on between us, Bundy and Elliott Heads. we've got flower farms, tomatoes everywhere. I think we provide something like, well, I know that Bundaberg is the second biggest provider in the world of macadamias now. Quite a lot of the cane fields are disappearing and going under macadamias. A lot of the cane farming has become very difficult with the climate and the rain and the floods and the drought and, you know, everything, whereas macadamias seem to be a lot more profitable. All right, so that's how it's looking. See how you can't see this bit? I'm just going to get my little iPad here, which is flat, so I'm actually not going to do that. Oh, bugger. Why isn't that charged? Let me just plug that in. Help. I've wandered off again. So let that charge for a minute. I just want to get an image. I can't think in my mind how this should look, so I don't know whether I need to do like a little tiny overstitch there, or whether if I sewed a line there, how that would look. Do you know what I mean? Or whether I just need a bit of shadow underneath it, or a bit of shadow on there. So I'm going to leave my little needle stuck in here while my iPad loads up. Think about it. So we are 45 minutes in. I'm going to go and just grab back my kilt. Put my eye on it for a minute. Iron. Never irons clothes. Nearly done. Perfect. My ironing board has an imprint of the iris on it because obviously that iron-on transfer was still really good, and the ones I've been using haven't been, so I kind of stuck my iron on it for a good, 10 seconds, which I've learnt is way too long when it's working. So I'll be a bit more careful. So this little kilt's going here, like that. How gorgeous is he? I'm going to pop him back on. And look, I don't know that I'm going to do much more to him. I think he would look nice with a bit of mending on him. Like imagine he's been hanging in the cupboard and he's got a hole. So I might do a little bit of what looks like old lady mending with a bit of wool or something. But I'm much happier with him now that he's a bit beat up. I do think I need to sand that a bit though, now that I've looked at it. Let me get my sanding block back. Can you just see how, I don't want it to be even coloured. This looks great, that looks great. But can you see that it kind of just needs something here? Just find my little green. This little guy again. And again, this is just a quilt template. It's acrylic, so I can sand it without damaging it, but it's got really good, hard, solid, thick edges. Like the edges are good, quarter of an inch. So you can get a really good fold over it and sand on there to get a really good imprint. So I'm just going to stick this in here, not another tray, and I don't want it on the fold, I want it about there. And I'm going to do, that's better, kind of move it a bit so it's not just one line. And like little, you might think, oh, it makes hardly any difference, but it makes a massive difference. And I'm just going to do that here. See, once I start, this is what happens. Okay, stop. Okay, that's much better. Another tray, my goodness. What's happening? It's not, it is cane season actually. October it ends, so there's a lot of cane being trucked, being sent down south. So that is my Robertson page so far. I am going to put some more things over here. I'm going to let this dry. It's not quite dry, so I'm not going to shut my book on it. I am just going to leave that there ready to go. This is my kilt pin that my lovely friend Lorraine gave me. And then this little guy came from the sewing basket in Sydney. So he was part of our trip, and also, obviously Scottish, little Scottish dude. So he's going to be pinned back in there. So thanks very much for joining me. Let me just quickly grab I'll have a last look at my iris before we go. Okay. Look, I think I can use it. It's still a bit wet there. I'm going to go dry it with my iron, and when I come back for the next installment, I'm going to be thinking about how I'm going to use this in my book. Like it is beautiful. I think it would look lovely. Let's pop him out so he doesn't make everything wet. Even here on the red, you know, if I kind of cut him out, or maybe tear him, I might need a bigger page actually. Might look lovely against an old hanky. But now the decision will be whether or not to stitch, which I think the stitching might just make it. I'm going to go back and have a look at Vintage Blend Studio because I know she was doing something similar with a little Dutch stitchery, and I just want to see what she's done, if she's stitched it. So if you have any ideas or you've used this type of pencil before, please comment, please share. And if you're starting a little journal, please give us a link. You know, we'd love to share. I'd love to see what you're doing. So thanks so much for popping in, and we'll see you soon.